Welcome guys to yet another episode of Basics in Physical NMR. So in this video, I'm going to explore how a nucleus is going to behave under an influence of a magnetic field. I'm your SSN, so let's get into the video now. While discussing in the previous video, I have said something that NMR is different from other spectroscopic units because we cannot excite our particles in the ground state to the excited state because of the larger energy gap between the ground state and the excited state. So what can we do? We do something called Zeeman splitting. That is what I'm going to explain in the earlier part of this video. What is Zeeman splitting? Because of the limitation in exciting the particle from ground state to excited state, we will do something called Zeeman splitting, which is nothing but we will apply a magnetic field. Okay, we will apply a magnetic field to our molecule. So when we apply our magnetic field, our ground state of the molecule, our ground state of molecule will split under the influence of this magnetic field. Um, we can see it in this slide. So take for an example a proton. Proton will have a ground state spin in a quantum number I is equal to 1 by 2. Okay. So proton's ground state spin is 1 by 2. Without magnetic field, it will experience no splitting. It will be in other words it will be degenerate. Okay. So when I apply some magnetic field, it will split. If it will split according to the formula 2I plus 1. So here um, I is 1 by 2. In my formula 2I plus 1, if I apply I is equal to 1 by 2, I will get something that 2 into 1 by 2 plus 1, which is equal to nothing equal to 2. So my energy level is going to split into 2. My ground state energy level is going to split into two energy levels of one of lower energy and one of higher energy. So similarly, if I take 15 nitrogen, it will also split into two because of its quantum number I is equal to 1 by 2. But if I note carefully, the splitting level between hydrogen or between a proton and between 15 nitrogen is different. Or energy level between the splitting of protons is more because proton is 10 times more magnetic than the 15 nitrogen. Okay. Let us take another example too. So let us take 57 aluminum, which has a ground state spin I is equal to 5 by 2. So if I is 5 by 2, in my formula 2I plus 1, my degeneracy will lift into 2I plus 1, 2 into 5 by 2 plus 1, which is nothing but 6. So I will get 6 energy levels. My ground state will split into 6 energy levels. Okay. So I'm going to discuss about this a lot in the furthermore slides. Let us get into that. Okay. So if a nucleus is containing a positive charge and electron is containing a negative charge. So I have mentioned here positive or negative. Positive means a nucleus because nucleus contain proton and neutron. Proton is positive, neutron is neutral. So it makes the nucleus a positive charge material and electron is a negative charge material. Either nucleus or an electron, it spins around its own axis, right? So uh, our basic understanding is if any charged particle, if any charged particle moves or undergoes any type of motion, it will create a magnetic field around it. Okay, so this is a basic idea. Uh, so my nucleus or my electron is spinning around its own axis, which we have uh, dealt with it in our previous video. So it is going to be spin around its own axis. So as it spins around its own axis, which is a charged particle, it creates a magnetic field around it. If I express this magnetic field can be called as its magnetic moment of electron and magnetic moment of nucleus. Okay, so if I express these terms in mathematical terms, I will get mu is my magnetic moment of either electron or neutron, nucleus. Okay, so mu is equal to the charge carried by the particle divided by twice of its mass into the quantum number, spin quantum number I. Because I'm measuring the magnetic moment with respect to spin quantum number. Okay, with respect to its spin, with respect to its spin. So I am measuring the magnetic moment with respect to its spin. I have written my spin quantum number there. So my magnetic moment can be given by this formula. So with this formula, I can alter this formula. I will represent the I vector. Okay, I vector as my bold I. So my bold I letter denotes I vector. So I vector is nothing but spin angular momentum. So this spin angular momentum can be told as h by 2 pi into square root of I into I plus 1. Okay, so this we dealt with our previous video. So we know what is I vector, what value is I vector. No, so if I substitute these values, I will get QH by 4 pi m. So just a normal multiplication, including this. Okay, so taking this inside, so QH by 4 pi m into square root of I into I plus 1. So, but you have to keep in mind that this is in the unit of Joule Tesla inverse. And another important one, electrons and nucleus are not point charges, which means they do not spin around its own axis itself. They also go around its orbit, that is the orbital motion. We must not neglect that. What I have said here up to this is because only of the spin motion, because of its spin only. But either an electron or a proton, it will also spin around its own axis, and also it will move along an orbit, right? So these are not point charges. They won't only spin along its own axis. They also move around. They also move around an orbit, right? So, including that orbital motion into our picture, we will introduce a new term called G, which is Landé splitting pattern. We will learn about this later in the magnetism of coordination complexes. So G is very interesting factor. Okay, so some may represent G as capital G and some may represent a G as small g. I'm going to represent in both ways. So yeah, I'm going to represent both ways. I will come to that later. Okay, so for electrons, it will be minus g into beta. Minus is because of its electrons negative charge, and beta is something called Bohr magneton. I'm representing this QH by 4 pi m as beta. Okay, so as I said, I will represent G as capital G and small g. Don't I wouldn't confuse you. I won't confuse you. You don't get confused. Okay, so I'm going to represent G as my Landé splitting pattern. Both capital G and small g represents my Landé splitting pattern. Okay, so minus G into beta, okay, which is QH by 4 pi m, which is known as Bohr magneton. So in nucleus, it will be called as nuclear magneton, but the charge Q will be here written as electrons charge E. Okay, so electrons charge, but this Q is something different. In nucleus, this Q will be number of proton times this electron's charge, because proton contains same charge as electron but different magnitude. Actually, electron's charge is minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb, but proton's charge is plus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. Okay, so this a charge of proton is different. So how many protons are there in our molecule? I don't know. I'm just measuring as a common tool, right? So as a common measurement, I would take number of protons into charge of electron as my charge of the whole nuclei, and I will introduce my mass, nuclear mass, as capital M. So if I substitute Q as PE here, so I will get GPEH divided by 4 pi I will substitute capital M for in the place of small m. So GPEH divided by 4 pi m into square root of I into I plus 1 Joule test plus. This is my nuclear magnetic moment. Just a minute. I have something to substitute here. Nuclear magneton. EH by 4 pi MP. Where is MP, which is mass of the proton? Where is no? I in the nuclear mass I will have mass of proton and I will have mass of neutron too. Right. So that is combinedly we call it as nuclear mass capital M. So I'm going to substitute the mass of proton. For that, I will do some mathematical tricks. I will multiply and divide mass of proton simultaneously. So I will multiply mass of proton in the numerator and mass of proton in the denominator. Okay, it is some mathematical tricks. So mathematical tricks. I never know where I come across these terms, mathematical tricks. Okay, so if I introduce this, and I will get EH by 4 pi small mp, okay, for 4 pi mp as Bohr magneton beta n. So GPMP divided by m into beta n into square root of I into I plus 1 Joule Tesla inverse. Okay. So as a whole GPMP divided by m, I will introduce the factor small g. This is where I will introduce small g and capital G. I will introduce the differences small g and capital G. So this capital G into number of proton into its mass of proton divided by the nuclear mass will give us the same Landau splitting effect as G. Okay, so don't confuse, because why I am using two G's, small and capital G. If you multiply any proportionality constant with any other proportionality constant, you will the result will be another proportionality constant. Here G is a proportionality constant. It is a constant for any nucleus, right? So for any nucleus, proton will also be constant. It won't be constant for two other different nucleus, but for a nuclei which is having the same G, it will be same protons, because only one nucleus is going to have one G, because every nucleus will have different G's, okay, different G values. So mass of proton is always constant. So that nucleus which is having same G value, which is having an unique G value, will have same M value. So multiplying a proportionality constant, dividing a proportionality constant will give rise to another proportionality constant. I'm mentioning is does small g. So nothing to worry about here. And if you visualize these two magnetic moments for electrons and neutrons, for electrons and nuclei, you observe the same thing, but one difference is that magnitude is same, but the direction is different. For electron, it is having minus g. For neutrons or for nucleus, it is having positive g. So we are getting into the point. For electron, we will have a opposed magnetic moment compared to the nucleus. Okay. Yes, I said nucleus without neutron. So if my I value is 1, then square root of I into I plus 1 is root 2, right? Then if my I value is root 2, I'm considering only I value. So I will draw a semicircle with the radius of root 2. Some concept ideas came from our last previous video. So I'm drawing a semicircle with a radius of root 2, 1.141 actually. So I will get 4 equal halves of these semicircles, which corresponds to positive axis +1, 0, and negative axis -1. So this is basically I'm taking in only one direction, right? So this axis corresponds to z axis. This corresponds to my y axis, and this the three-dimensional axis will correspond to x axis. I'm taking only along the z axis. So I'm going to substitute the root I into I plus 1 as iz. Can I? Yes, I can. So I'm particularly taking my I values in only one direction. So I'm what to say? I'm uh, denoting that direction as my vector, iz vector. Okay. So g beta in into iz. Okay. So this is for the nuclear magnetic moment. So I'm going to place two strong strong magnets with North Pole and South Pole. I'm going to introduce magnetic field to the nucleus now. So nucleus will be kept in between these gaps, in between the two magnets, North Pole and South Pole. So a strong magnetic field is passed along the z direction actually. So the iz values are +1, 0, -1 when I is equal to 1, right? We are calculating when I is equal to 1. So if the I is 1 and iz are +1, 0, and -1, where iz is +1, look here, I'm going to do some calculation. Where iz is positive now, if my iz is positive, then my magnetic moment will also be positive because G is absolutely positive. There is no doubt about it. Beta n, we can calculate beta n for electron and nucleus separately because they have constant values. Beta n for electrons, we can they are constants. QH divided by 2 pi m. Sorry, 4 pi m. Sorry, 4 pi mass of electron. Mass of electron is constant. Q of electron is constant. H Planck's constant. And for neutrons, sorry, for nucleus again, for nucleus, um, Q is sorry, beta n is nuclear magneton is EH divided by 4 pi mp. Mass of proton is constant. Uh, yeah, yeah, electrons, sorry, protons charge is constant, and Planck's constant is constant. Planck's constant. So there is no negative values here. So if my iz is positive, my magnetic moment will also be positive. So if my magnetic moment is positive with respect to my magnetic field, then it is up having an upward direction, or my uh, mag- magnetic moment of my nucleus lies along the external field. When my magnetic moment is zero, sorry, when my spin angular momentum is zero, my magnetic moment will also be zero, and I will experience no, what to say, no magnetic moments, no magnetic experiences. Okay, my magnetic moment of nucleus is zero. There is no magnetic character in my nucleus if my angular momentum, spin angular momentum is zero. If my spin angular momentum is -1, come to this. If it is positive, it is positive. Magnetic moment is positive. If it is negative, then it will surely be negative. So if it is negative with respect to the magnetic field applied, then it should have an downward spin, or in other words, it will be against the external field. Okay. So if there is no field, my ground state is degenerate. If I am if I am applying some external field, my degeneracy is lifted, or in other words, my um, ground state is going to split into some energy levels. In this case, three energy levels because I is 1. If I is 1, 2i plus 1, apply 2i plus 1, 2 into 1 plus 1, which is 3. So my energy levels are, my ground state is going to split into three energy levels. So which will correspond to -1, 0, +1, because in +1, my magnetic moment is positive, and which is not the case. My magnetic moment is positive and it is along the field. Okay, that matters here. It is along the field, so it won't have to do much lot energies to change my magnetic moment. Okay, so if it is against the field, it will have much energy. It will have more energy. So it does some work. It does some work to change its direction. It is against the influence of the external field, so it has more energy. But in the case of electrons, in the case of negative particles, this energy levels will be reversed. My lower energy level will be -1/2, and high upper energy level will be +1/2. What is the reason for this? For electrons, magnetic moment, you see here, my magnetic moment is inversely proportional to the Iz value, because a negative charge is present here. G is positive, beta is also positive. If Iz is positive, my magnetic moment will be negative. If Iz is positive, my magnetic moment will be negative. And if my Iz is negative, my magnetic moment will be positive. So if I am applying a negative Iz value, my magnetic moment of electron will be positive, right? So this upward spin, in the case of nucleus, it is an upward spin +1. But in this case of electrons, this +1 corresponds to the downward spin. Okay. Because if my Iz value is positive, my magnetic moment will be negative. So downward spin will experience a positive Iz value in the case of electron, and an upward spin will experience negative Iz value in the case of electrons. Okay. So my upward spin, it is along the field, so it won't have to do much energy, much work. But in the case of downward spin, it is against the influence of the external field, it is against some force, so it has to do some work, so it will have higher energy. So this is my splitting of energies. Okay. So how do I say my energy levels are +1/2, 0 and -1/2, or +1 0 1 -1 in this case? Go back to my previous video, you will find I have told you the Iz values should be -j2 + j. Sorry, that is in the case of total angular momentum. In this, it is should be -I2 + I, which is nothing but +1 0 minus. I is 1, so minus I is -1 0 + 1. That is it. So let us come to this part. What happens to the spin magnetic moment of the proton in the case of an external magnetic moment? Okay. So my interaction will be multiplied. My magnetic moment of the proton and the external magnetic field will be multiplied. In some books, they would have been given, or in some Google websites, they would have been given as negative values. This interaction is nothing but the energy level separations. Energy can never be negative. Okay, energy can never be negative. So in case of some energies can be negative, but this energy can not be negative. Okay, so that is wrong. So interaction is mu z into b naught. So this is I have as I have told earlier, this is just the separation between the neighboring energy levels, or del E. So I can take it as energy level of Iz minus energy level of Iz -1, or Iz +1. It is neighboring energy levels, right? So Iz into Iz -1, which is the before energy level of Iz. So if I substitute the energy levels as energy as mu z b naught, I will get something like this, because I know the value of mu z. Mu z is nothing but g beta n into Iz. So g beta n Iz into b naught minus g beta n Iz -1. Substitute Iz -1 in the place of Iz, because the energy level is for Iz -1. So into b naught, which is nothing but simplifying normal mathematics, you will reach this del E is equal to modulus of g beta and b naught. So I have included modulus because, as I told you, the energy level separation can either never be negative, can never be negative. Okay. So this is in the units of joule, but I want it in the units of hertz, the units of second inverse. Why? I want frequency. Del E is h nu. So divided by h, we will get nu frequency. So divided by h in the both sides. This is the formula for the frequency of the energy level separations. So my energy level is going to separate. You apply this formula, you will get separation of energy levels. Okay. As I divided h in both sides, divide the h unit with my unit. So h unit is joule second. So joule will be cancelled, and second inverse is nothing but hertz. So my nuclear magnetron's value is EH by 4 pi mp. As I told you earlier, I can calculate this value. So this value is constant. If you substitute the total constant values, you will get beta n is equal to 5.05 into 10 power minus 27 joule Tesla inverse. In the previous slide, we have discussed del E, or the frequency, is directly proportional to beta n, and it is also directly proportional to B naught, right? See here, new frequency is directly proportional to B naught. So I have a spark. I have a very great result here. So if I find a particular B naught value, if I find a suitable B naught value, I can obtain a spectrum in any part of the frequency, in my electromagnetic spectrum. This is a breakthrough, guys. So if I if I apply a B naught, for example, of 2.3487 Tesla, this is actually for the NMR spectros B naught. This is secret. So B naught 2.3487 Tesla, and G value for protons is 5.585. So G value differs for every nucleus. So for proton, it is 5.585. So if my frequency is directly proportional to B naught, so for this B naught in this spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum, I'm going to apply this value, boys. I'm going to apply this value, girls. So if I am applying these values, these are all constant values, normal mathematics, you will get 100 megahertz. Mega is nothing but 10 power 6. 10 power 6 is nothing, lies here. Radio wave region, which is nothing but for the NMR region. I am going to introduce you into a new, or into a another important section here. Why electron spins and nuclear spins will are observed in different spectrometer methods. Why they are measured in different spectrometers? Why NMR and ESR or EPR is different? It's because of this energy level, guys. Energy level separation. Beta for Bohr magneton for electrons is QH by 4 pi m. Apply this. If I apply B naught is 0.34 Tesla, because I am going to apply my B naught as my wish, as my suitable frequency levels. Okay. So if I apply my B naught value for my electrons calculations, I will reach my value. G is 2 for electrons, free electrons, 2.0023 actually, but I'm approximately taking it as 2. I will get something, the energy level separation, I will get my energy level separation as 9500 megahertz. See these both results. I'm getting 100 megahertz in one point, and 9500 megahertz for electrons. So 9500 megahertz is nothing, but it will reach some, uh, what to say, the borderline of microwaves. It will reach into microwaves. So for electrons, I'm going to get spectrum from the microwave region, but for nucleus, I will get the spectrum from the radio wave regions. Okay, this is the main difference, because electrons are observed in the microwave regions, and nucleus are observed, the nuclear spin transitions are observed in radio wave regions, and nuclear electron spin transitions are observed in microwave regions. Hence, they are observed in different spectrometers. We need different spectrometers. We need a radio generating spectrometer and microwave generating spectrometers. Okay. So you may ask, you decided the B naught values. You decided the B naught values for both. So you did a trick here. No, I won't believe you. Yes, you may not believe me, but this is what the scientists did. Okay, these B naught values are measured experimentally, so that to give the maximum accuracy rate, maximum intensities. So for electrons, 0.34 Tesla is my external applied field. Okay, if I apply only the 0.34 Tesla as my external field, I will get a clear spectrum in ESR, dispersion spectrum, and absorption spectrum in NMR if I apply B naught as 2.3487 Tesla. Wait, what? Absorption and dispersion? I will deal it in my later videos. So until then, bye bye. So if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up, share my video, give me your suggestions in the comment box, and subscribe, guys. subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon, and I have given you my reference books in this description, in my every descriptions. So make a good use of it. And if you guys want my videos in my native language, I want to do my video in my native language, my mother tongue, which is Tamil. So நீங்க வந்து தமிழ்ல இந்த வீடியோலாம் பார்க்கணும்னு நினைச்சீங்கன்னா, அதோட லிங்க்கும் தமிழ் சேனலோட லிங்க்கும் கீழ குடுத்துருக்கேன். போய் அதையும் பார்த்து என்ஜாய் பண்ணுங்க. இது என்ஜாய் பண்ற மாரி வீடியோவான்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. பட் எனக்கு பெர்சனலா என்ஜாய் பண்ற வீடியோ. ஸோ ஆ உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது நான் இங்கிலீஷ்ல பேசுறது புரியல, இல்ல நான் தமிழ்ல பேசுறது கேட்டா நல்லா இருக்கும்னு தோணுச்சுன்னா, தமிழ்ல போய் பாருங்க. I will see you in my third video. Until then, bye.